This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. I hold in my hands here a letter from Roger Stone's attorney indicating to the January 6th committee that he will not be testifying, or that if he does, he will be pleading the fifth. And I want to talk about that. We'll read a couple sections from this letter. But before we do, let's talk about this weird trend among people like Roger Stone, who, in normal, it seems to be common sense. I mean, I'm not a criminal, so I don't have the mind of a criminal, but it would seem to be common sense that if you're doing bad guy shit, that you're gonna try to be low key. And Roger Stone and his ilk have kind of done the opposite. They're as flamboyant as possible. They dress like comic book supervillains. They walk around with t-shirts with their own name on them. Just look at me, drawing attention to themselves. It is bizarre. And before I read the letter, there's a clip I want to show you of Roger Stone traipsing through what I believe to be Washington, D.C., with a shirt with his name on it. Roger Stone did nothing wrong. And by the way, as an aside, Roger, I don't know who's doing your merch, brother, but they're doing a terrible job. Unless you went down to Michael's and bought like iron-on patches for the letters, you need to find a better manufacturer. But he's walking through Washington, D.C. ostensibly, and I'll just show the video. It is just nonsense. Just know this, the guy he's talking to is not a BuzzFeed reporter.
The AP has reported that you've decided to assert your Fifth Amendment rights. Do you have any comments, sir?
You're with the Daily Beast?
Yes, sir, I am.
Fuck you.
Excuse me, sir?
You're with the Daily Beast, right?
I'm with the Daily Beast.
Yeah, fuck you. I only talk to legitimate news organizations.
I'm a reporter.
Have you seen a worse piece of acting? And also, listen, maybe I retract what I was saying. Maybe all that legal defense money that he's been raising is bolstered the t-shirt budget. I mean, seriously, that was a laughable. Not a Daily Beast reporter. How many times did they say the Daily Beast? It's like a commercial for the Daily Beast. Roger Stone, Dum-Dum McGee. So anyway, Roger Stone is now asserting his Fifth Amendment right under the Constitution. I want to talk about that because you don't just have the right to plead the Fifth and not testify. The Fifth Amendment protects you against self-incrimination. So just by virtue of the fact that he's going to assert his Fifth Amendment right under the Constitution means that he did something wrong, and if he testifies, it will incriminate him. That's the whole point of the Fifth Amendment. So in saying that he's going to plead the Fifth, he's also signaling that he did something criminal, illegal. Here's a letter from his Grant J. Smith, attorney at law. Dear Chairman Thompson, in response to the recently served subpoena from the Select Committee, Mr. Stone has directed me to advise you that, as further discussed below, pursuant to the rights afforded him by the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, he declines to be deposed or to produce documents. There is, of course, no question that the Fifth Amendment provides Mr. Stone the constitutional right to decline to respond to questions. As applied to the Congress in Watkins v. United States, and he gives the number here and the year, Chief Justice Warren pointedly instructed that the constitutional rights of witnesses will be respected by the Congress as they are in a court of justice. Witnesses cannot be compelled to give evidence against themselves. Notably, as the Supreme Court emphasized in another case from 2001, the Fifth Amendment protects innocent men who otherwise might be ensnared by ambiguous circumstances. This is no ambiguous circumstance. This was an attempted overthrow of the United States government, an attempted overturning of a free and fair American election, a bid to sully and disenfranchise tens of millions of Americans' votes. There's nothing ambiguous about it. It baffles me that there isn't a deeper bench if you will, of lawyers on the right. I think there must be. They're treating these people as persona non grata because they don't want any part of this nonsense. The letter goes on about producing documents. Here we go. Furthermore, the Fifth Amendment affords Mr. Stone the right to decline to produce documents where the act of production would be testimonial. Again, he's saying that the documents he would produce would also incriminate him. Given that the Select Committee's demand for documents is overbroad, overreaching, and far too wide-ranging to be deemed anything other than a fishing expedition, Mr. Stone has a constitutional right to decline to respond. Indeed, the Select Committee seeks an imprecise and undefined category of documents and communications concerning a broad range of constitutionally protected political activity. Moreover, responding to the extensive request requires the preparation of a detailed index and log describing the contents of the production, and in and of itself would be protected from disclosure by the U.S. Constitution. Thus, given that Mr. Stone has been characterized in the press as under investigation by the DOJ and the FBI, responding to the document demand, which is plainly designed to elicit information about the existence of potentially incriminating evidence, would be amount to a testimonial act, defeating the privilege being asserted. And then it is signed, respectfully submitted, Grant J. Smith, Esquire. And there's a bunch more, several other paragraphs. I'm not going to get to all that because it is a lot of nonsense and subterfuge. These flamboyant idiots are, in my opinion, from my glancing at what has been going on, up to their necks in this. There is no reason why first of all, even saying that it's too many documents to produce. If all you were doing was attending a rally, if I took a trip to New Orleans this last weekend. If I was summoned, subpoenaed, my testimony compelled by a legal authority, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, it's too many documents to give you about my trip to New Orleans for the weekend. And if that's what that was, just a random attending of a rally, why would there be just copious, voluminous amounts of paper to produce? Emails, text, it's just a few things. It doesn't make any sense. It's a lie. So Roger Stone and his Roger Stone Did Nothing Wrong t-shirt is really selling himself out here. He's given up the goods on himself by signaling to the world that, yeah, I did criminal shit. And if I testify, I will be outing myself. But what would you expect from someone who needed clemency, who needed a pardon from a president because of the felonies they committed in his service? What do you think, though? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for subscribing and liking and commenting and doing all the YouTube stuff. I appreciate you guys very much. Follow me on social media. That is sometimes a good time. I told Tucker Carlson to himself yesterday. It's always a good time, right? That's the kind of highbrow, intelligent commentary you can find from Twitter, on Twitter with me. And if you appreciate what I do, if you get a laugh or some information or the drive to get involved, please consider supporting my work here on the platform for as little as $2 a month. You can click the join button below this video, become a channel member, or you can head on over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and get involved that way. Help support what I do, help produce what I do. Again, moving to Washington, D.C. in just 3 weeks or so. Looking to have big changes on the channel. My wife and I are expanding the operation with the podcast, I Doubt It. And also here, we want to be on the scene when things happen. It's going to be a great time, and you can be part of that. I love you guys. I will see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.